This is Frontier Opening Bell, our Thursday edition for this week. Of course, welcome to the show. I'm Temple Ashaji Bosun Omofaye, Executive Editor, is here with us to give us some analysis on the headlines that we'll be speaking to this morning. But before we get to that, we'll look at the indices that we track here. The Nigerian Exchange, basically all of them are in green today. A rare situation. Nigerian Exchange positive by 22 basis points midweek. BRVM Stock Exchange also positive midweek by some 45 basis points. Egyptian Exchange, which is looking to commence an auction today, is also positive, leaped by 1.21%. The Nairobi Securities Exchange was up 0.50%. Johannesburg Stock Exchange in South Africa at 66,000 plus was up by 1.45%. That's a serious surge there. Now let's move on to the East African markets, and we have Kenya seeking fresh $31.1 million from Global Fund for Vaccine. Kenya Central Bank data reveals wealthy poor bank branches. KNSE market capitalization up some 2.1% to 2.702 billion Kenyan shillings for the month of June. Jubilee Holdings up stake in Uganda plans to 40.9% at 4.4 billion shillings. And Rwanda jails 8 Kenyans in Equity Bank hacking case. Bosun.
Very interesting stories there, starting from Kenya. If you look at the vaccines, the race for the vaccines, Temple, almost every country on the continent are looking for funds. Remember the supplementary budget passed by the Senate here in Nigeria yesterday included the fund for the purchase of vaccines as well. So we don't have the production on the African continent yet. South Africa is yet to get to that particular point, which is the closest as we speak. So wherever you can find fund, whether in local currency or in foreign currencies, you better get it because it's going to hurt your economy if you don't have a containment. So part of the containment plan is to have the vaccines, get as many people as possible to get inoculated, and then you can be part of the reopening in a manner of slow and steady that the global economy is going. So that's what Kenya is doing. The data, the report from the Business Daily Africa regarding the structure of the bank branches in Kenya was very interesting. That's why we included it, because it shows that the majority, the bulk of the money in banking business in Kenya is between 3 cities, I think between Nairobi, Mombasa, and I think one other third largest city. So the banks tend to have more branches there. So a few counties or so in Kenya were all where the biggest businesses are. It reveals where the wealthy lives in Kenya and where the poor people live. So bank branches, is that the data came in out of the central bank, and it shows quite a whole lot about the demography of those who are rich and those who are poor in Kenya, and you can see that from the bank branches. I don't know if that is reflective of Nigeria anyway, but maybe this is a study we should also do around here to see what happened. Jubilee Holdings raising the stake in the Uganda power plant to about 40.9%. That's roughly 4.4 billion shillings. Well, that is across border. And one thing I've loved, and I keep saying in Temple, is that the whole East African community and a bit more of that into Southern African community, they do a lot of cross-border investments in their utilities, in the banking sector, and a whole lot of others. And I think I really love those guys east of the continent, and I keep talking about it. I love the way you can have a holding company in Kenya investing in power plants in Uganda and vice versa and elsewhere. So I think I give it to the East African community. The level of economic and market integration can go a whole lot further, but I think they're doing not bad right now. Those 8 guys are going to jail for the Equity Bank hacking case. Banks and regulators take hacking cases very, very seriously, Temple. So don't joke with it. That's it. But again, this is happening in Rwanda, where 8 Kenyans were jailed for Equity Bank, because Equity Bank is that very big behemoth of a banking and financial services business in East Africa, all the way down to DR Congo.
I understand one Ugandan is also involved, as well as 3 other Rwandans. So they are like 13 or 12 or thereabouts in all in total. But thank you very much, Bosen, for your analysis on all of those East African markets. Quite True, true. Let's move on now. In Nigeria, the Senate has approved Buhari's 895 billion naira supplementary budget. EcoBank floats elevates funding for women in business. FCMB buys 33.9% of ICO insurance stake in ICO pensions. Cote d'Ivoire raises 33 billion CFA franc treasury bills in UMO markets. In Senegal, Sonatel is redeeming some 3.25 billion CFA franc by July the 16th of this month. And you have finally EBID, and that will be EcoBank, ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, repaying some 2.83 billion CFA franc debt by July the 12th, very soon. Wasn't you have those
You
headlines
correct.
to
Yes, you're correct,
analyze?
Temple. The last information about the EBID, ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, and the Senegal Sonatel, which is their telecommunication giants, their big name in Senegal.
Mm.
It's all about informing the market. When you take funds from the market, you tell the market, you let the market know when you're redeeming those debts, and then you give out a figure, what are the yield on it, and all of that, and closure. So that is in line with regulatory market requirements. Then you go all the way to the UAMO market, where Cote d'Ivoire raised about 33 billion in treasury bills. Look, that we have an auction today in Nigeria here at the market with the central bank. So forget it. Every central bank is doing T-bills at all times. Then you get the market informed. Big news around the pension industry with FCMB pensions buying about 53.9% ICO insurance stake in ICO pension. So it's a buyout there. So that puts FCMB in a very big, stronger position as far as the pension business is concerned. Quite a big one. If you look at the pension industry, the NGX pension is included in the new derivatives that are approved by the SEC for the Nigerian Exchange Limited to start trading in the derivatives. So the pension market is big in Nigeria. The pension index is moving almost on a daily basis on the market if you take that as a part of our equities market. So our FCMB is looking at the game here in terms of the size of the pension markets in Nigeria and what the games are there. The numbers are moving up. It could get a whole lot better as you get the economy a whole lot better. EcoBank floated the Elevate yesterday. The ELLE is the French word there for women. So the whole idea is to get a lot of technical support, funding support for women in business, businesses that have affiliations with women. And we spoke with Patrick Akiwota, who is the regional executive and the CEO for EcoBank Nigeria. Quite a very big event. We have a whole lot of some of the big names, women in Nigeria from Dry and Tumble, whatever, and they are all there yesterday. Quite a very big event. Then on the big story again has to do with the Senate for that loan supplementary budget, nearly 900 billion. Then the Senate committee also approved additional $6.1 billion for the Buhari's administration, but this has to do with foreign borrowings. So the World Bank Executive Board says they've approved some of the funding budgetary support for Nigeria over the last couple of months. I think as far back as late last year, but there was no request plan of how this money will be spent by the Nigerian Senate. That was the last interview we had with the country director for World Bank in Nigeria. I think that was what happened yesterday. So now the coast is clear for the Buhari's administration to do Eurobond and approach the World Bank and other multilateral agencies, which of course include a $1 billion funding request from the AFDB. I think with this now, the government will be able to move on. Out of all of this, if you ask me, the World Bank and the EFDB will be the easiest point for the Buhari's administration to approach for the loans that have been requested and how quickly this money will come. Our FX reserves is not in a very robust position in the manner of speaking, so we need to shore that up. Oil prices coming back, as you can see, from 76, 77 to 73. Then you find that you need to get the dollar, also the naira, a little bit of the pressure on the back of the dollar. That is also news. You have the whole subsidy problem, as you know, Temple, because of rising oil prices. The subsidy also start going up, trying to hold down the petrol prices. So all of this put together is what this foreign borrowing is called concerned. Right now, the deficit is looking really, really huge. But this is the time. Second half of the year, Temple, if you don't get things running very quickly, we might not see very strong GDP growth. The Minister of Finance said to the Parliament was about 4.2% GDP growth for this year. First quarter was not so fantastic. I'm not too sure second quarter was that fantastic. So the outlook now for the administration will be on the third quarter and the fourth quarter. They need all the money on the table, but then a whole lot of pressure is there on exchange rate, on inflation, by the way, and all of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bosun. Let's check in with the South African markets now, where the MSCI Emerging Markets FX index slipped by 0.3%. Stocks index was down 0.4% on Wednesday. The South Africa's restaurant joined brewers in virus ban pushback. Harmony gets 5-year mining lease extension in Papua New Guinea. As the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange licensed to launch own Central Securities Depository, a CSD, and Namibian bankers donate 2.3 million Namibian dollars worth of oxygen supply. Let's hear your thoughts on this. I mean, it's surprising. It may not be to you that the restaurants in South Africa are joining the the brewers now on their
Tempo.
pushback because again, it looks like the coffee is holding back a whole lot of sales.
Tempo. Look. You know the synergy between restaurants and beer. You know what it means. Folks drink beer uh,
Yeah.
at restaurants, at hotels, and what have you. And what is a restaurant without the brewers? And how do brewers survive without the restaurant? So it's easy for them to get their cousins along. You know, restaurants and brewers, they're two sides of the same coin, by the way. So they are cousins in the hospitality,
Hmm.
leisure, food chain industry. So it's easy for Sab Miller and a few other big names in the brewers industry, leading the Brewers Association, to tell the restaurant guys and say, look, guys, you better join this fight because, look, it's a mutually assured destruction if you don't give this pushback. Let's survive together, whether swim together or we sink together. I think that's why they were able to get the union of restaurateurs to say, look, look, alcohol ban for virus. They said they've gone to court. Let's leave it there for now. But the biggest news, Tempo, was that Jacob Zuma, former president, goes to jail. He surrendered himself yesterday evening to the correction facility. So he's gone to jail for the first time in South Africa's history. And it's all over the world. It's the big news right now for the contempt. He's gone to serve his 15 months jail term. He's becoming the first South African president to go to jail on contempt. The whole corruption case is still there. The whole report is blowing up everywhere. It's one thing about the fact that, look, this is the first time that you've seen a major a former president of a major country like South Africa go to jail. I learned over that the ANC committee finally decided to let the rule of law prevail in South Africa over influence, over big manism within the South African politics. So they've thrown Zuma overboard and is gone to jail, making history in South African political history, at least since 1994 when civilian democracy started, non-apartheid with the late Nelson Mandela raised in the courting. So this is a big thing that South Africans will be looking at for the ANC. Will the ANC be able to repair itself as a political party, the biggest political party in South Africa, moving forward, holding the economic and political power? This remains to be seen how they're going to get the Zuma blot off their scorecard. But if you look at the news review, Tempo this morning, a few which I've read from the Financial Mail, from the Africa Report early today, it's not looking good at all in terms, there's a whole lot of the whole 7 sins, if you ask me, that Zuma had committed. So the analysis and all of that are not looking good. Let's leave that. Harmony Gold in Papua New Guinea got a 5-year mining license renewal. Dig for gold, Tempo. Prices went back to 1,800 handle yesterday. That's good news for anyone who is in the market right now. Zimbabwe Stock Exchange got a new Central Securities Depository. CSD it looks like the new kid on the block and derivatives across African markets. You know the whole CSD story in Nigeria. You covered the Nigerian market for many years and you still keep an eye here. So it's all about the CSDs, the CSD. So if you have the CSD, there's a whole lot that you can do. If you move on to have a counterparty system, that is all lot you can do. So we spoke with the top official of the NGX yesterday evening on television, and what he told me was that the move to get exchange traded derivatives, stock futures and index futures up should be happening between now and the end of the year. They want to be very careful about it. They want to see how they can start with the two index futures and see how it goes in terms of volatility, in terms of the capacity of the dealers who will be selected to deal with it, the whole regulation around the derivatives approved by the SEC. So there's a whole lot of gamut of work out there that needs to be done before we can get this kind of very delicate, let me use the word, a delicate derivatives trading into our own market. It's very delicate. It can get you bond. It can bond down the main market. So the NGX has been very careful at how this is all started. So they want to test run with 2, then they'll bring the other 5, which had been approved in that basket by the SEC. Bankers are donating money. You know, the CACOVID in Nigeria, by the way, which was led by the big names in the industries and banks, Access, Union, UBA, blah, 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 Zenith, the Bankers Committee and all of that. So this is putting your money where your life is, by the way, because if you provide oxygen and you can help with the vaccine, that's one of the big stuff. Temple, you know that. Finish it up for me.
Thank you, Bosin. And we're not done with the exchanges yet, as we'll see next in the Northern African markets, where the EGX in Egypt, Cairo, is planning a trial session on new trading system version till July the 13th. Now, DICE posts some 4.1 million Egyptian pounds in consolidated profits for the first quarter of this year. Arab Cement expects to cut sales by 26% in local markets. Morocco's auto sector exports rise by about 50% in the month of May. In Morocco, Adoha Group sales jumped by 54% in the first half of this year. An auction is now to be tested or tested out basically today, I think, between 3 and 4:30 p.m. at the Egyptian exchange, Bosun.
Yes, the Egyptian market went up yesterday. Just to bring it in, I'm not sure if it's mentioned yesterday, the whole Nile Dam issue is getting Egypt into some very unpleasant waters, even in Washington. So now we have some other countries asking the US, and the United Nations, asking the United Nations to step into this particular face-off between Sudan, Ethiopia, and Egypt, but mainly between Egypt and Ethiopia over the Renaissance Dam, $4.4 billion hydropower project, which Ethiopia has built on the Nile. So that is giving President Al-Sisi some geopolitical pressure right now, and it's all gone all the way to United Nations and the US. So Donald Trump, remember, who was a bit in favor of Al-Sisi, Egypt, on the side of Egypt. There are a whole lot of forces coming in now and saying, look, this has to be settled well amicably. There should be no victor, no vanquished. Ethiopia right has to be respected. We don't know how this will end up, by the way. But again, the new trading system or platform that EGX is trying to put in place, we'll see what it looks like after July the 13th, when it will be inaugurated, maybe towards the end of the month, maybe early in August. We'll keep everyone posted here on the show. Arab Cement, you know, what happened was that the anti-competition regulatory agency in Egypt came forward and said, look, all cement makers will have to level the playing field when it comes to cement within the local industry. So I think that's why Arab Cement is cutting its sales by 26% in the local market, because of the new arrangement that the authorities say, look, they don't want what you call a monopoly kind of within the market. Automobile sector in Morocco. Morocco is the second largest industrialized economy north of the continent. You know that once you step out of Egypt, you get Morocco is next. Exports up nearly 50% in the month of May, despite the pandemic and all that. Look at what Morocco is doing, and that is good news for them also. Thank you.
A very good notes to close the show this morning, and basically to help investors to remember that there's a whole lot going on in Africa. They, in spite of the pandemic, as you mentioned, Bosin, they are still redeeming debts, they're redeeming bonds, and they're, of course, engaging more with investors, bringing in investments, FDI, FPIs, and all of that, despite the pandemic. This is something that's happening elsewhere. Thank you very much, Bosin, for all of this analysis on this African markets headlines this morning. Really appreciate it. Bosin Omofai is our executive editor here at Frontier Africa Reports. And this has been the show for today. Frontier Opening Bell. I'm Temple Ashaji signing off. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.